think what's kind of happened is I felt like I was very, very close to actually getting to the point that I was before, where tinnitus wasn't an issue at all. And I don't think I was quite there. And I think the fact that I had a little bit of a blip really upset me. It was almost like getting a lottery ticket like this close to your hand and then somebody snatching it away, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. You just saw Scott. He is a valued member of our mytinnitus.club online program. And we're back to another episode on the 2024 format where I do a free online tinnitus coaching. I record those tinnitus coaching sessions and I share them with you and the world. So here my YouTube audience and everyone else out there with the background of you benefiting from all the knowledge that I have gained over the last 5 years and working with 500 plus people in tinnitus coaching sessions. And today we get into Scott's story. Scott has previously habituated to tinnitus, so then he had a increase in his tinnitus, and right now he's a member of our online club. As usual, you can find all the valued resources in the description to this episode, such as a link to join our online program, but also a link to get one of these free coaching sessions if you don't mind that we share it with the world afterwards. So everyone benefits from me working with all of these people and doing free coaching sessions for the internet. But yeah, let's get into the coaching session with Scott. I hope you enjoy the concepts and everything we discussed. If you are looking for more, there we have some more of these coaching sessions on my channel, including last week, Malcolm was on the show. Malcolm was very new to tinnitus. We have another one where Michelle shares her success story, and another one where Carl, another member of mytinnitus.club, is also sharing his progress. So if you like and enjoy these sessions, then of course make sure you subscribe and leave us a short comment of what you thought about the episode. But let's dive in, enjoy the coaching session that I did with Scott from the UK. And if you have any questions, just drop us a comment and we'll be happy to help wherever we can. Enjoy the episode.
Okay, well then, welcome back to the channel. This is Frida, your tinnitus coach, and today I'm joined by Scott, another wonderful member of our online tinnitus habituation club and community, mytinnitus.club. And this is the new format that we've developed for 2024 to make everything that we do a lot more accessible. And today we're joined by Scott, and Scott, you've been a very valued member of our club for maybe already a year. I don't even remember anymore. How long have you been in the club? I think
it's close. It's close. Yeah, I think it's coming up to a year now.
Nice, awesome. Okay, Scott. Then in order to I know your story, I know your history, but all the people who are watching and listening, they probably don't. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your tinnitus journey and a little bit about where you're at right now as well, because that's what we want to get in, and that's what we try to make it most useful for you as well. So just share a little bit with us.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So so my tinnitus journey started around 6 years ago. The noise just seemed to come from nowhere. I struggled to put it to a particular event. I just woke up and heard a noise. Was unsure what was kind of going on. I thought, I'm going to walk it off. I'm going to go for a walk around the park. That should sort it out. Obviously, that wasn't the case. As hard as it was when it first started, I don't think I particularly panicked too much about it. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't pleasant. Obviously, tinnitus isn't pleasant for anybody. But I mean, it didn't take me to that kind of panicky kind of place. And within, I'd say, about 8 or 9 months, I fully habituated to it. To the point that, I mean, it was as good as gone for me. And I didn't hear it. I didn't think about it. That was 6 years ago. Yeah. So it took about 8 months, and then it wasn't an issue anymore at all. I mean, I'd probably be more concerned if I stubbed my toe on the side of the bath than I was about tinnitus. It just didn't mean anything to me anymore. And that was the case. And I lived like that for about 5 years, where it just wasn't an issue. And then not November 2022, Yeah, that's right. November 2022. I went to a firework display with my wife and my little girl, and the fireworks were, I mean, crazy, crazy loud. One particular went off, and I almost kind of like felt it ricochet in my head a little bit. Didn't think too much about it, just thought, wow, that was loud. And then a couple of days after that, I woke up and my tinnitus was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. It sent me into panic. It sent me into just anxiety fueled panic, all the kind of main things what tinnitus can do. And since then, I have had a real problem with it. I mean, a real problem. It's kind of taken over a little bit, or had done for quite some time. But I mean, with the help of you, Frida, you know, and all your knowledge and all your wisdom, I got to a point where it started to get better again. You know, I started to feel like me again, and I know that I sent you some messages, kind of stating that, saying that things were definitely looking up. I mean, the noise was still there, but it wasn't there. It wasn't the forefront of my mind. But for some reason, I seem to have fallen back into kind of old habits a little bit. So I have regressed somehow. I'm not sure how, but things have gone a little bit tougher again. But you know, I mean, in the back of my mind, I mean, I know this isn't a linear journey. I know it's not something that just goes progressively better, and then all of a sudden you're fixed. So I'm having a blip at the moment. It's a bit of a long blip, but I'm having a bit of a blip. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I am. So I got completely better at one point, completely better. Then obviously tinnitus hit me again. Started to recover, but I have had a bit of a dip down. So that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Right. And I think if we can manage one thing, then it would be helpful to understand a little bit what caused the blip and how we can maybe bridge the gap to get you on a little bit more of an upwards trajectory. I can't promise anything, but I promise to do my best to maybe establish together with you in the next about 30 minutes or so to talk about that and to see what may be at play here. And I just want to ask, since it's been quite a while now, what were some of the coping things and some of the strategies and some of the other things that you've tried so far with your tinnitus? What are some of the things that you have been trying in order to get hold of your tinnitus in the past?
All right, guys, I just wanted to give you a very short introduction here to our online tinnitus club. So as soon as you have signed up, and I'll show you in a minute how to easily do that, you are directed onto this very first page. It's a quick welcome video where I tell you a little bit more about this club and everything that we have in store for you. We have a challenge going on to help everyone building the right kind of habits towards being able to habituate to their tinnitus. You can see there's a lot of engagement. Down here, you will see the tinnitus courses. So when you go down here, you can find the beginner's course that's included in all of these subscriptions. You would go to www.mytinnitus.club, and then you go to choose a plan, and then down here you will find all the different plans. So for example, if you want unlimited access to everything for 7 days to try everything out, then you can just get the 7-day plan for $9.99, access to everything, enter your first name, last name, email and password, and you create your account, quickly put your credit card data in. It's all safe and secure. This is handled by the platform and Stripe, so it's all safe and secure, or you can log in with Google, Facebook, LinkedIn or Apple. For the other ones, we have 14-day free trials. So if you want to check those out, you get 14-day trials on any of these packages. Continue with Apple, and then just agree to these terms and conditions, and then you're set to join our online tinnitus club.
So initially I tried masking, tried using external noise to try and not cover up the noise, but make it a little bit more tolerable. I seem to be one of those people, though, who find masking to be a little bit frustrating. I mean, I have to put up with the noise of tinnitus, you know, but yet mixing another noise into play, I mean, it just doesn't seem like the way to go, if I'm honest. Excuse me. So I tried all the tools that we work on. I've tried using ACT. I've tried accepting what is, not trying to fight against anything. And I think that's what kind of got me. I think that's what kind of got me back on that good path. I got quite good at it, at just accepting what was there. And when I found that I did accept it a lot more, and I didn't fight against it, you know, things started to tone down. Things started to get better. I think what's kind of happened is I felt like I was very, very close to actually getting to the point that I was before, where tinnitus wasn't an issue at all. And I don't think I was quite there. And I think the fact that I had a little bit of a blip really upset me. It was almost like getting a lottery ticket like this close to your hand and then somebody snatching it away, if that makes sense.
For sure. So I mean, there are many things, and I talked to Carl. He was on the channel as well, and we did the session as well. There are many things, and this was interesting because Carl said he experienced this blip between Christmas and New Year's, and my thing immediately was like, dude, Christmas is family time and it's nice time, but it's also difficult time. And New Year always means anxiety, because New Year is technically always what's in store for me in future, what's going to happen. So like I totally understand, and I want to devote this time now to finding out a little bit more about the blip, and maybe about the things that you've been doing well and the things that have been going well before you've had this, like, let's say, little relapse. Because once you got a taste for it, that's what Julian said yesterday in the session. He's like, you got a taste for it, you got to win in your books. So at least you know that it is possible at the level and at the tinnitus that you're currently experiencing. So you know it's possible. You just have to get back into it. And you just have to get back and sort of like build on this progress and build on this understanding. And I just think, Scott, like, you're not fully there in understanding what your reaction, your cycles of thoughts, fears, emotions, etc. is that instill this process. So I think once we get a little bit more clarity, we get a little bit more clarity for why you got better in the first place. B, we get a little bit more clarity what happened with the blip. And C, we get a little bit more clarity on how you should be progressing in the coming weeks and months. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So what do you think were the most helpful elements before when you know, I remember as well, you were like a little bit more euphoric. You were like, man, it's looking upwards. Things are going well. Everything's good. Christmas coming up, excitement, etc. And then something happened. So what were the things that were going well? And sort of like, what were the elements of what you were doing? Is there anything that you can relate to where you can say, like, this is what I used to do, or this is what I stopped doing, stuff like that?
Not massively, if I'm honest. I mean, I know that I was in the middle of doing my qualifications to become a HGV driver.
Right.
You know. So I mean, I think that took up a lot of my time. It took up a lot of my kind of focus. And that massively helped. I mean, I didn't really have the time to be focusing intently on what I'm hearing all the time, because I had like tests to revise for. I had, lessons to do. I had like a main test at the end to do. So I mean, I was kind of preoccupied. I just. So I don't know.
One second.
I just felt better.
One second, because I want to note this. I want to make a mental note for the two of us. So one thing is to have a project that you chose to do this, but you also had this kind of mentality of, okay, this is a test. I need to perform in this test. So kind of like a thing that you sort of also had to do somehow, right? So I want to just make a mental note of that now it's a little bit more like you have the freedom to fall back into your old habits, because you're not so engaged in something else that you need to really prepare for or do. So if we would say, okay, you find something, I've seen you've done some drone footage videos of your daughter and just general stuff. where you would say
Yeah.
like, okay, or a habit or something that you regularly do, where you say, I do this independently of my tinnitus, then first of all, maybe we start having a habit of something that you do independent of your tinnitus, where you start to learn to immerse yourself in it, no matter what your tinnitus does while you're doing it. And therefore
Yeah.
creating a little bit more of the space where it's a positive thing, or it's something that you need to or want to do, and it's a little bit of distraction time. And that's something that has fallen away, and therefore allowed more, because you had to be really disciplined with this one. This discipline helped you to say like, what do I care about my tinnitus? I need to be focusing on this. This is important for me in my career.
Yeah.
Just sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to make a quick note of that because I think that might be
Yeah.
important.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I think the fact that I was focused on something else, it helped me immensely. I mean, it put my focus onto something apart from, the noise that I was hearing. Um, However, the noise was progressively getting lower. I mean, I don't know if I've actually increased the volume by refocusing back on it, because I mean, when it gets as loud as it does get, I mean, I do find it really, really hard. No matter what projects in front of me, whether it's driving the HGVs, whether it's doing flying the drone and making the videos, I just find concentrating on anything apart from that very, very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. But I
But,
shouldn't be fighting against it, and I shouldn't be trying
but
to force my
and,
concentration
and
on something else.
exactly. And this is what I say. I find concentrating on something else really, really difficult. That's like
Mm,
the element of forcing you to
yeah,
concentrate on something else, which is
yeah,
like you're trying to force yourself to avoid tinnitus, which
yeah,
when you do that, then you say like, I think I might have found at least a tiny reason for the blip. You were focused on something else, disciplined,
yeah.
because you had to work for this new thing.
Mm,
And you, as a by result, you were less aware of your tinnitus as a
yeah,
byproduct.
yeah,
Therefore, you had a betterment in your tinnitus. Then this discipline thing falls away. Over Christmas, we indulge, we don't need to follow structures, etc. anymore. And you become progressively more aware of your tinnitus. And progressively more becoming aware of your tinnitus is coming at the same time with these thoughts, oh my God, but I had this great time and it was getting so much better.
yeah,
Why in this period where I'm now free and where things are okay, why can I not hold that progress? And then
yeah,
when this frustration starts, then the problem becomes bigger, right? The focus on tinnitus becomes bigger. And we often know, and I discussed this with Carl as well, the more the focus becomes bigger, for many people, that means that the tinnitus gets in fact louder.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not saying that this is everything that happened. I'm not, and we're not there yet. But I'm saying
Oh,
that this could be an explanation of how you went from the disciplined pursuit of something where you didn't have the time to give the tinnitus the space, and you didn't actively force yourself to forget about it, but you immersed yourself free of telling your tinnitus what to do or not to do,
yeah,
to just simply go back into the background. And when you lost that, and you became a little bit more consumed of like, oh, why does it not, why can't I keep up this progress now? You became frustrated, more ruminating about it again, perceiving it more, and that's where you got into the stage again where the attention is heightened, the tinnitus perception is heightened, we get frustrated, we get stuck, we get depressed, we feel shit, and then it's like sort of like this cycle that starts again.
it's 100%. I mean, everything you've said, it's like you've taken the thoughts right out of my mind, because that's exactly what I was sat thinking. Why the hell am I not? Why can't I maintain this progress just because I was busy doing a driving course? Why can't I sit at home at Christmas time and still feel the way that I felt? Why can't I have a lack of awareness like I did? It's exactly what I was thinking. 100% what I was thinking, and then starting to get upset and starting to panic the fact that I wasn't making the progress what I thought I was. It's 100 million% right.
Yeah, but the progress was there because you weren't focusing on the progress. That's the
Yeah,
mean thing. The
yeah,
mean
yeah,
thing, the progress with tinnitus. Life happens what was John Lennon was the guy who said life happens while you're busy making plans. So tinnitus habituation happens because you're not actually looking for it. And you were sending yourself a strong signal that everything you're doing, you could pursue it with tinnitus in the background and no importance on tinnitus, right? Therefore, your brain didn't perceive it as a threat. Therefore, you perceived all these benefits and the decrease in the awareness of tinnitus, but not because you were actively looking for it. Just because you were showing your brain with living your life and doing your stuff, you were showing your brain, hey, we don't need to care of this all the time.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Fred. I mean, it's like, I think the fact that I habituated to the level that I did the first time round is both a blessing and a curse, really. In terms of, that's what I'm constantly striving to get to. It's that place again, constantly wanting it, constantly striving towards it, and I think that's the thing that's holding me back, if I'm honest. You know, it's that pursuit of it. It's am I there yet? Am I close to it? Am I hearing the same level of tinnitus as what I was hearing when it didn't bother me? It's that pursuit of where I was, and I've got to let go of that, and I've got to just let it be as it is.
Yes, and if I can give you one advice now, try to find another project that you pursue completely regardless of tinnitus, completely regardless of the perception of your tinnitus, and do that. Meticulously do it. I don't know whether it's like when you have tension problems, then do stretching every day regardless of your tinnitus. No matter what your tinnitus does, do something that you know is going to be good for you, and you do it regardless of whatever your tinnitus does. Because again, this is this thing like, love is like a fart. If you force it, it's probably shit. Tinnitus habituation is the same thing. The more you try to force it, the more you try to think it through, the worse it will get. Because your brain, in this problem solution cycle, your brain always assesses how well you comply with your goal. And if your goal is non-perception of tinnitus, then your brain in 99 out of 100 cases is going to say, no, you failed your goal, because you actually still hear your tinnitus. So then you naturally get upset, you naturally get anxious, you naturally get frustrated and panicky, because your brain says, well, the strategy that I tried to do is obviously failing, because here it is loud, and it's really freaking me out, right? And then we fall back into these old traps of controlling strategies. So my first advice is look for something. I don't know what it is, but it has to be something on a consistent basis. It has to be independent of tinnitus, the pursuit of something outside of tinnitus, but not for the goal of saying, I hope this will move me closer to tinnitus habituation again, because then you bring into this element again. So it has to be independent.
Yeah, it's got to be something that I want to do regardless of whether the noise is there or the noise isn't there. It's got to be something that I feel passionate about. I'm really getting into this kind of photography with the drone and stuff. I mean, that's something I want to get back in the gym again, because I want to start playing sport again. Nice. Like I said, I'm a tennis player. Well, I haven't been playing for a while, but I'm generally a very good tennis player. So I really want to get back into sport and start playing tennis again. And it does make it louder. It does make it louder. That's probably one of the reasons why I've kind of steered away from it for the time being. But I love playing tennis. I love it. Love it with all my heart. I've done it for all my life.
But this is the thing, and this is the advice I'm giving all the other people as well. Julian with golf, because he says, like, I feel like I have to give in to golfing because golfing is loud when I hit the driver and stuff like that, and I don't want to make my tinnitus worse. It's like the thing though is, when you're outside and there's an ambulance passing by or some loud event, you can't in 100% of the cases avoid that. But you're limiting yourself to not doing a hobby because you're afraid of your tinnitus getting worse. So you limit your life. And that sends a signal to your brain of like, well, then at least I'm not doing this anymore, so I'm limiting myself in this way. And then the power that tinnitus has over you grows. Instead of like going for a few times, continuing to pursue that hobby and teaching yourself repeatedly that tinnitus doesn't stand in the way of the hobby that you love, right? It's very, very important Because all of these things are what we have in the community, in the acceptance and commitment space. That would be week 3, moving towards committed action, to move towards things that give value in your life that you want to do independently of tinnitus, because that tells your brain, hey, I'm doing it. And it doesn't matter what tinnitus does. If I get anxious, then I get anxious for a while. Totally fine. But is it worth to stop doing my hobby for avoiding half an hour of anxiety? No, it's not. Because it's my life. I decide what I do. Tinnitus does sometimes, based on how tired we are, how we sleep, what caffeine does, whether we drink alcohol, whether we are annoyed, or whether we have a stressful time. Like, tinnitus does things and will always do things. It will probably be like that for a while, or it will always be like that. But that's not a reason to back down from the things that really make your life into your life. And if you're an excellent tennis player, you need to be playing tennis 100% in order to teach yourself that you're doing something that you were doing before. And tinnitus is no reason to not do it.
Yeah, 100% right. I am going to get back. I mean, obviously, I can't at the moment. It's freezing. No one wants to be outside swinging a racket with a pair of shorts on at the moment. It's cold. But as soon as the sun comes, yeah, I'm going to get back into it and get back into the gym and things and start getting back in shape and fit.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been doing this now for the first few days, and it's not easy, I must say, honestly. I'm usually like 2 times, 3 times a week sports player. Like, I do 2 or 3 times maximum sport, and I'm like, that's my pensum. So now for the last 2 weeks, I was like, or since January started, okay, I'm going to do something every day for 20 minutes. Like, even if it's just here on the floor or something, just push-ups, sit-ups, just squats and stuff like that, just for 20 minutes. And some days you feel like it, some days you absolutely don't feel like it. But that's the nice thing, right? When you devote yourself to like creating the habit, and even if you don't feel like it, in fact, actually, most times I feel so much better after having done it on the days that I didn't want to do it, because I overcame this lethargic energy, right? And it's the same thing with tinnitus. You have a chance every single time you get up and do something independently of tinnitus. You have the chance to convince your brain that tinnitus was not an obstacle that you had to overcome. And then your anxiety towards your tinnitus is less, and you feel more flow. You feel like you can go through these states with more dynamic, more ease. So my idea for you is, Scott, what kind of things can we build for you to get out of this blip? So within the rest of the 30-day habituation challenge inside the club, like, what kind of habits can you build? Maybe hobbies with a drone, maybe getting back into sports, maybe something else, maybe learning another language. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever's been on your mind, whatever you want to do, is what action can you move towards that helps your brain start to convince your brain that if you don't do it in order to pursue a goal, naturally your brain will start learning that whatever it is, you can pursue it independently of tinnitus, and then the need to get rid of tinnitus becomes less. And only when the need to get rid of tinnitus becomes less, the need to constantly evaluate where your tinnitus is and how that influences your emotional states starts to go down, and then your brain starts to move closer to habituation, which is, I think, what you experienced in the weeks when it was getting better.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I want to get into the gym. So that's something that I'm definitely gonna pursue. I want to get going with the gym, start getting fit again, and ready for the summer season. And when the summer season comes, I'm playing tennis regardless. Noise, no noise, bollocks to it. I'm playing tennis, and that's the way it is.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, it's cycling. Not that I really, I don't know. I couldn't say in the past whether maybe too much cycling, and probably has something to do with a little bit of my hearing loss, but probably more intense was all those nights in the nightclubs where I didn't wear hearing protection. So blaming the cycling for my loss in hearing is probably not the fair thing to do. Although I did cycle quite a lot and quite fast downhill with no noise protection. So it's like sticking your head out your window when you're doing 60 miles an hour. It's quite noisy, yes, of course.
Wow, is that the speed? Is that the speed you got up to on the bike?
On the road bike, downhill, easy, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in the Alps or something, Alps or Pyrenees, you go on the road bike, you hit it hard, you go fast. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And Scott, and this is one last thing, or what means one last thing, but one other thing that I wanted to tell you, and I've recommended this to to Carl again, to start at the beginning, to go back to the roots, to be very, very mindful of, you remember the time that that you were started dealing with tinnitus and where things were like really, 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 really difficult, right? You remember that time, and that time is like what always keeps us going back to these moments in which we have this huge emotional reaction. So it's like reminding yourself of what you're trying to avoid and to get clarity of that. So to take pen and paper, write it down, write down when things get tough, what are the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings that come up, the things that you probably most try to avoid still, yeah? What are those things? Because when you get that clarity, then you get a clarity and a sense of direction whether these things are actually true. And most likely you will probably find out that many of these things aren't as true as you might believe, as this constant habitual pattern makes you want to believe, right? And then you get a sense of direction. Okay, what are my next steps? And like when I have a negative reaction, when I have a difficult moment, how can I open this moment up a little bit? We've talked a lot about the ACT key, and the ACT key needs a lot of maneuvering and changing. But what can I do in order to differentiate myself a little bit, to open myself up, to not fall into the same trap when things get difficult again?
Yeah, I think I do need to maybe go back and do some and go over kind of the basics again, because I mean they worked. They helped me. I mean they didn't help me immediately, but accepting, being more open, not stopping doing anything was working. It was getting me into a better place. And that it is just a blip. It's a blip. I know I'm having just a bit of a blip. It's just a bit of a slight redirection. But I'll get back on track, because I mean there's nothing I do. There's nothing I don't do. I don't avoid anything. I never have. I mean I've gone through kind of anxiety disorders in the past, and I'm quite proud of myself in the fact that I never let it stop me doing anything. I do it regardless anyway. I've never shied away from anything, and I never will, regardless of what it is, whether it's anxiety or tinnitus or whatever it is. I'll push myself. I'd like to do them things and enjoy it. That's all. As opposed to doing it because I'm pushing myself.
But Scott, let me stop you right there, because that's a belief and an idea that you have about the situation that is a preconceived. That's like a motion picture when someone cuts a movie. Yeah, takes one picture out and puts another picture in. You say, I would just like to be able to enjoy it. Well, what keeps you from enjoying these things? I'm 100% convinced that you can start to show to yourself that you can enjoy them with the full kind of joy that you were experiencing before, even with the tinnitus present. The idea that you have that you cannot do that is your whole problem. It's not that it's not humanly possible. Positive emotion and enjoying things and experiencing tinnitus are 100% possible.
Yeah.
So it's your preconceived idea about annoyance and stress response that you expect to happen when you do something that you like, and then you expect tinnitus to destroy it, and then there it comes, tinnitus destroys it. So it's this preconceived idea that fucks up your moment. Sorry for the language. But it's not that you can't really enjoy the moment and that you can't be there and enjoy it. Yeah. Honestly, it's not. It's within the human range of possibility, and you know it.
Yeah, I do know it. I do know it. I know it 100%. And that's sometimes what I do actually think. If we may be going out, for a meal or something, I'll go, I'll get dressed up, I'll go for the meal, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I just get through it, because it's probably going to be not as pleasurable as it would be, because you're going to have a ringing with you all the time, and sure enough, there it kind of is, because I've kind of put that seed in and let that seed kind of grow prior to even going.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see, as long as your brain thinks that this ringing is an obstacle for you to fully enjoy your life, as long as that is the case, that long will your brain say, well, this is something that we need to do something about. When you start experiencing that you can enjoy and that you have a good quality of life regardless of what your tinnitus is doing, then you free yourself from this preconceived idea of, oh, I think it could be 30, 40% better if I wasn't hearing my tinnitus. And that's the kind of situation that you hold your hostage in. And that's what you don't need. Look, people who like habituated, fully habituated, even though tinnitus is loud. Like, you know that I'm deaf on this ear. I can't hear shit. And you know that this one is the hearing aid and it's loud as well. But I don't have a preconceived idea that I can't do anything because of my tinnitus, no matter whether it's like on a loud day going over everything else. Like, it doesn't matter. So because I live like that, I live free of the chains that come with the restraint of always thinking in every situation things were better if my tinnitus wasn't there.
Yeah.
If you had this preconceived ideas, well, if I didn't have my left hand, then my life would be great. And every day you look at your left hand and you're like, ah, this shitty left hand, man. Why do I have this left hand? I just wish I would chop it off. And you're like, but I still have this left hand. You never enjoy your life because you have a left hand. Well, you're born with a left hand. It's just how things are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the end, it isn't your tinnitus that needs to be removed for you to be able to break free from this and enjoy and have a good life. It's this preconceived ideas of seeing everything through the lens where this tinnitus negativity pulls you into a reactive emotional cycle, and to which you respond because that's what you've learned to do. That's what you've conditioned yourself to do. So you need to start conditioning yourself out of this with a different kind of response.
Yeah. I know, it's just changing that response is proving to be changing that response when the tinnitus is loud is proving to be difficult at the moment, because I feel like it's not even in my control. The response is so automatic. It's such an automated thing that I don't feel like I'm in kind of control of the response at the moment.
No, you can't. And let me tell you why. Because your brain has started to be used to that response in the same way that your brain can habituate to tinnitus, can also be the absolute opposite of habituation. If you got bitten by a dog very, very severely, I always say this again and again, your relationship to a dog is going to be very bad. You're going to be very afraid of dogs. Every single time you see a dog, it doesn't matter how small it is, your amygdala will go into overdrive and say, dog, avoid it at all costs. It's very painful. And if you're unlucky, it can kill you, right? It's not the reality of everyone who doesn't deal with dogs in that kind of way. But for the person with the fear of getting bitten by a dog or having just gotten bitten by a dog, it feels like the most realist thing. And this anxiety is maddening. But it's a behavioral response that your amygdala, so the fear and panic-based center, has formed. But this is something we can unform over time with the pattern behavior. You need to understand, however, why you have formed this association. So you need to have a conscious part of your brain say, yes, you've been bitten by a dog. And that, of course, was a very painful experience. But not all dogs are bad. And I will start to overcome this way in sort of like maybe going to my parents' dog and just playing with him for 2 minutes first, or being close to a dog that is tied to a bench and just standing next to the dog for 10 minutes. And what you do with tinnitus and what we do inside the club with acceptance and commitment therapy is and this is what I've been telling you, we try to get other things in your life that you focus on, where you can start feeling that you can, independent of tinnitus, have a positive relationship with whatever you're doing. And then it becomes much easier to move with more dynamics. And then you start to recondition yourself in a different way. But that what you experience is, of course, very normal. How could your brain not react to something that you perceive as such a big threat to your quality of life? Very normal. Give yourself a break.
Yeah, I know. And I try to be, and even when them kind of feelings do come on strong, I'm not afraid of them, if I'm honest. It's not the feelings I'm really afraid of. I'm quite accepting of anything that kind of comes. I don't feel like I shy away from anything, or afraid to feel any kind of feelings of anxiety and things. It's just my brain thinks of it all the time. That's the main thing for me. That is the main thing for me, if I'm honest. My brain thinks about it all the time, and that pisses me right off, because I just want to be concentrating on things that I want to concentrate on. but I know, I know I can't force it to
I
happen. I've
can
got to be okay with all of it.
but I can keep this going.
I
There's
know,
a
I know.
reason for why you think of it
Yeah,
all the time. But the
yeah,
more you
I know.
think of it and the more it pisses you off, the more you are again in this reactionary cycle, the higher your
Yeah,
anxiety is going to be.
yeah,
And the only thing that will break your cycle is, first of all, starting okay with thinking about it. This is something we've discussed many times. Stop beating yourself up for perceiving it, because the more you
yeah,
beat yourself up for perceiving it, something that's naturally perceptible as a human being with tinnitus, which is something that up to 30% of the population experience, right? Stop beating yourself up for the perception of a normal signal, because
yeah,
you know you will help yourself in not beating
yeah,
yourself up in that you're perceiving the signal,
yeah.
right? It will be in the long run a better thing not to beat yourself up for hearing it. It would be like
Mm.
the same thing. You can beat yourself up for having a left hand every single day. Why the fuck do I still have this left hand? It's not going to you know. So go back to those first things
Yeah,
at the very
yeah. I'm
start.
going to do. I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to. I'm going to go back to those first things, and I'm going to get back to that place where I don't beat myself up, and if I'm thinking about it, then I think about it, and that's where I was kind of at. I mean, I was allowing it to be. And I found that the fact that I was allowing it to be, and I wasn't getting pissed off, the fact that I was focusing on it, stopped me from focusing on it. My focus just naturally sort of went on to something else. And then I know where it lies with this. I know it is. I know that's the path. It's I think it's the fact that I did. It's like I said. It's the fact that I felt very, very close to being back to the position where I was at, let's say 5 years ago, and having it taken away has hit me a little bit hard. But I'll bounce back from it 100%, and I'll start doing the things that I was doing before because I was getting better.
And let me add one thing to that, Scott. I know that this blip feels terrible and that it's a downer, but it's one more opportunity for you to learn your own reaction to tea and your own emotional roller coaster. And whatever helps you to learn and understand this better will help you to feel and break free of it in future. So I know
Yeah,
that you understand it as a negative thing, but I always say without the difficult period, no progress can happen. Without
yeah,
resistance, nothing can get better. You know it from sports.
yeah,
Resistance training, difficulty makes better. So this is the same thing with tinnitus. For you to, but it's like, stop having it as needless suffering. Start to try to understand your suffering better. And this is what we try
yeah,
to do in this call today. We try to understand your blip and your suffering better, to also
yeah,
say like, well, the suffering, at least it serves a purpose. You understand why you're suffering a little bit better, and you understand
yeah,
and know the steps that you need to take in order to get out of it a little bit more and bring more flow into the process again.
yeah, yeah. I do. I know what I have to do. I know what needs to be done, and I'll get going with it. And I'm going to get going with living the way that I should be living. Instead of putting things off. It's like I was supposed to have a friend round the other day. We were going to jump on the VR and do. So I was going to show him the
Nice.
Gran Turismo. I was going to show him the Gran Turismo
I'm
thing.
very, 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 very jealous of that.
Oh, it's mad, honestly. If you get the chance to, Freddie, you need to get this thing. It
Dude,
is
you know that I have the
mind
steering
blowing.
wheel. You know I have the steering wheel and the pedals and everything. So I can
If
only imagine
yeah,
this is like the last thing. Like you sit inside a Porsche and you look around
oh,
and everything's there. Like that must be insane.
it's phenomenal. And when you're actually driving it, I mean, it feels like you're going really fast. Everything's whipping by, but you can. Honestly, I can't even speak how good this damn thing is. So I mean, with the wheels and the pedal, I mean, it's close to actually being a racing driver as you're ever going to sort of get. It's
Man.
mental.
Oh man. Then
So
Scott,
yeah, yeah,
then there's one thing that you need to do is you need to take 2 sentences now to recommend people to hire me as their tinnitus coach and to say something about our community. Those were the 2 things so that I, in the year 2024, can afford to buy a PSVR.
yeah. Okay. Right. So what I will say is that Frida is absolutely amazing. He never doesn't reply to any messages. He's always there to offer help and guidance. and he's like phenomenally knowledgeable. And anybody who's suffering, I couldn't recommend him enough. You know, it will help you 100%, as he's helped me and he's helped hundreds of people in this community. In terms of the community, I mean, I love this place. It's like a little close knit family of people who are striving to get better, and everybody's so supportive. And if you are struggling, the best thing you can do is join this community. You know, it'll change your life 100%.
Awesome. Thank you. Hopefully that will be enough for my PSVR, and then we can race against each other in later this year sometimes. Awesome.
I'd love to.
Really appreciate it.
I would love to.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Frida. Thanks very much.
Scott, well, I see you inside the club, of course. Really turn this into something useful. So I want to check back in with you. We don't have to do it in this circumstance, but we can certainly, if you want to. But sit down, take the time for yourself, really go through that process again and include it into the rest of your 30-day challenge. And then I'm convinced in 4 weeks, you'll be in a different place.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure I will as well. Thank you, Frida. It's been very, very helpful.
All right, buddy. I'll speak to you soon, okay? Have a good one.
All right. Take it easy.
See
you later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this coaching session that I did together with Scott. Scott has certainly shared with me that he's learned a lot throughout the coaching session and that he's ready to claim that progress back into his life. If you want to be part of our online program, then you can simply check it out at www.mytinnitus.club. Apart from that, of course, the link to get one of those free 30 minutes coaching sessions that we share on our YouTube channel is in the description to this episode. If you like to support my work, then consider subscribing, leave us a comment of what you thought about the episode so that more people can discover this content. I know there's a lot of content on tinnitus out there, but I really try to share as much as I can the most beneficial frameworks that I have found that help people habituate to their tinnitus, and I aim to become one of the biggest no bullshit channels and podcasts out there on the internet. My personal story, you guys know it, it's deaf on one ear and hearing aid and tinnitus in my remaining right ear. So it's my personal passion and profession, and I really want to grow this into one of the most significant educational channels on tinnitus out there. And if you guys share and like this episode, then you really help me with that. So thanks for sharing, thanks for liking, share it with the people you think who need to see this. And I really appreciate that, because we want to give no bullshit tinnitus advice to everyone on the internet. And I'll catch you in the next one or in the club. See you then.